Assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon the Master of Martyrs and peace be upon you adorers. Welcome to Shia Waves. I'm your anchor Ali Jassim, here to present and replenish your minds with the latest Shia world news. And now with the headlines. Remembering the late Sayyid Muhammad al-Shirazi. ISIL prevents Mosul residents from offering Eid prayer, regarding it as bid'ah. Takfiri Twitter account says Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi injured in Raqqa. Delegations from the Department of Religious Affairs of Imam Hussein and Abbas holy shrines deliver lectures for the Iraqi soldiers in military camps. Delegations from the Departments of Religious Affairs of the holy shrines headed to the areas that are experiencing fierce clashes with the ISIL Takfiri terrorists to offer religious, moral, and logistic support for the Iraqi soldiers and volunteers. A delegation headed by the head of the Religious Affairs Department of Imam Hussein Holy Shrine went to Salah ad-Din province to offer the rites of visitation in the Askariyin Holy Shrine and to deliver food supplies for the Iraqi soldiers and volunteers, along with supporting them morally and logistically. Meanwhile, the Department of Religious Affairs of Al-Abbas Holy Shrine continues its tactical program by visiting the military camps and delivering lectures. Numerous Ahlul Bayt followers gathered in Husainiya Rasulullah Alam in London to remember one of the greatest scholars in this religion, the late Sayyid Muhammad al-Shirazi. The commemoration ceremony commenced with a Quran recitation, followed by a speech delivered by Sayyid Muhammad al-Qazwini, in which he clarified the pure biography, works, and accomplishments of his eminence. It is worth mentioning that Sayyid Muhammad al-Shirazi is Sayyid Sadiq al-Shirazi's elder brother.
Several Iraqi Muslims residing in London have congregated in Husainiyat Rasul al-A'zam. On this night from the last 10 nights of Ramadan, the gathering is dedicated to the renowned and highly influential scholar Ayatollah Sayyid Muhammad al-Shirazi.
طالما رأينا في الحوزات العلمية وما بين العلماء حالة من الحسد نستجير بالله كان يجرها كلمات من التسقيط وكلمات من النابية وكلمات لا تليق بالعلماء نجدها في بعض الأحيان. قليل من العلماء أولئك الذين نزهوا ألسنتهم وكلامهم وقلوبهم عن هذه الأمراض. لذلك نجد أن الإمام يؤكد على هذا المعنى صائلا لنفسه، يعني تعبان على نفسه، مربي نفسه تربية إيمانية، تربية أهل البيت، تربية علي بن أبي طالب والإمام الصادق صلوات الله وسلامه عليه.
The Grand Ayatollah al-Shirazi is the religious authority or marja' to millions of Muslims around the globe. He was a charismatic leader known for his high moral values, modesty and spirituality. He tirelessly devoted himself through extensive contributions in various fields of learning, ranging from theology and jurisprudence to politics, sociology, law, economics and human rights.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen wa sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ali tahirin. We are here today to commemorate the anniversary of the passing away of Ayatollah al-Uzma Sayyid Muhammad al-Shirazi, one of the great jurisprudence scholars in the world of Islam. This great personality, he was a unique figure, unique in many ways. Some of the ways that he was unique in, that we lack to see in other scholars today, is that he was able to communicate not only with the adults, with the older generation, but also was able to communicate with the youngsters, as young as 5, 6 or 7, until reaching the teenagers, the 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds and older. This great scholar was able to get through to them. Nowadays we do speak to youngsters. Sometimes they listen to us and sometimes they don't. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had given this personality great virtue, and that was whoever and whom he used to speak to, his wise words and his wisdom and his knowledge used to penetrate into their minds and into their intellect. And as soon as they used to leave the presence of this great man, they used to go and actually implement all of the advices and all of the information that they used to take from this great personality. I knew him from close. I sat with him many times, although I was young, but I learned from him a lot. This great person, Ayatollah Sayyid Muhammad al-Shirazi, taught people like me at a younger age how to grow up and serve Islam and serve Ahlul Bayt and serve humanity and mankind as a whole. Because the message of Islam, as he himself, may Allah's peace be upon him, he himself was propagating the real message of Islam, which is the message of peace and harmony and freedom for all mankind on the world.
As a believer in the elementary nature of freedom in mankind, Imam Shirazi called for freedom of expression, political plurality, debate and discussion. As a believer in the elementary nature of freedom in mankind, Imam Shirazi called for freedom of expression, political plurality, debate and discussion. He strongly advocated the consultative system of leadership and upheld a stance of tolerance.
We are commemorating the demise of Ayatollah, the great Grand Ayatollah Sayyid Muhammad al-Shirazi in Husseiniyyat Rasul Azam in London. The scholar who has dedicated his life to the service of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, because they represent the real face of Islam, and also to propagate the mission of Imam Hussein alayhi salam and the disciples who were martyred with him on the fields of Karbala, on the hands of the zealots and the people who hijacked the Khilafat from the real people who are appointed by Allah to lead the people in the right way of Islam. And we congratulate all the Muslim Ummah for such scholars and leaders who have dedicated their lives to the service of Islam for the sake of humanity at large in the Arab Peninsula and in the world at large.
Sayyid Muhammad al-Shirazi had established many Islamic centers and libraries where thousands of individuals had graduated as scholars, lecturers, authors and intellectuals. Sayyid Muhammad al-Shirazi had established many Islamic centers and libraries where thousands of individuals have graduated as scholars, lecturers, authors and intellectuals. He was also known for establishing medical and charitable financial services, as well as educational and social foundation. These institutions are found in scores of countries across different regions of the globe. Hundreds of people have gathered here in London in Husseiniyyat Rasul al-A'zam to commemorate the anniversary of Sayyid Muhammad al-Shirazi. This scholar that has done a lot for the community and especially the youth is highly revered. By remembering his many contributions, Muslims here are reminded of and learn from his great legacy. This is Ali Muhammad Ali, reporting for Imam Hussein TV, 3, London.
The terrorist ISIL has prevented Mosul residents from offering Eid prayer and visiting their relatives' tombs, regarding this as bid'ah. News sources said that the ISIL forced Mosul residents to return home and never think of offering Eid prayer again, as it is a bid'ah. On their part, the residents of Mosul city said that the situation is unbearable and they live in a dangerous humanitarian crisis. Iraq's Ministry of Human Rights says ISIL Takfiri terrorists are using Iraqi children as human shields. The ministry has strongly condemned the use of Iraqi children as human shields by the Takfiri terrorists. According to reports, at least 120 children have been recruited by the ISIL so far. The Human Rights Watch has also confirmed the report that the ISIL Takfiri terrorists are using children as human shields to carry out their acts of violence. The organization also said the terrorists recruit children to help them in their fight against Iraqi government forces. ISIL's leader, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, has been injured during army's operations in Syria, according to a Takfiri activist tweet. Twitter account holder Al-Tawheed Institute wrote that al-Baghdadi was injured during the operations of the Syrian Army's Division 17 in Al-Raqqa city. The news came as the Syrian opposition claimed that the Takfiris had taken control of Al-Raqqa, but the army denied the allegations. 2 Shiite civilians were injured in rocket attacks targeting Al-Zahra neighborhood in Homs city, Syria. A source in the province said that terrorists fired 2 rocket shells on the city, with one of them hitting a house in Al-Zahra neighborhood and injuring 2 civilians, while the second hit Mohsen Abbas school, causing no injuries or deaths. Muslims in several countries have begun celebrating Eid al-Fitr, which marks the end of the fasting month of Ramadan. Throngs of worshippers gathered at mosques on Monday across the Southeast Asian countries including Indonesia and Malaysia to offer their Eid prayers. Thousands of Australian Muslims also celebrated the religious Eid al-Fitr at the end of Ramadan. For thousands of Rohingya Muslims, a safer refuge in Bangladesh could not offer joy of Eid for the minority after escaping for their life from Burma's state-sponsored persecution. Described by the UN as one of the world's most persecuted minorities, Rohingya Muslims are facing a list of discrimination in their homeland. They have been denied citizenship rights since an amendment to the citizenship laws in 1982 and are treated as illegal immigrants in their own home. The Burmese government, as well as the Buddhist majority, refuse to recognize the term Rohingya, referring to them as Bengalis. Rights groups have accused the Burmese security forces of killing, raping, and arresting Rohingyas following the sectarian violence last year. We have reached the end of our news show. Thank you all for joining in with us, and as always, remember our dua to hasten the reappearance of our beloved Imam al-Mahdi, peace be upon him. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.